Where was your boyfriend at the time of the attack?
How much did you have to drink?
Listen, these guys, they prey on drunk girls.
Baby. Baby, look at me. What happened?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I wasn't with you.
Like, I know this is weird and uncomfortable, and I don't know what to say, but just try and be yourself, okay?
Sure.
Tell everyone it was a mugging, okay?
Did you think about it? What happened to me?
I don't expect you to get better right away.
Oh my God, get better? How about you let me decide how I feel? The world does not stop for you, okay? It keeps spinning no matter what. You can't remember anything. I am not the one that is supposed to be on trial here. You're gonna kiss me again?
I'm dying to kiss you. I just don't want to hurt you.
I can handle it.
What a powerful trailer. What a powerful trailer. I mean,
it's really weird. I can't even watch the trailer anymore because it takes me like right back to shooting it. It makes me like sweaty and nervous.
it's tough to watch as a viewer. I can only imagine for you who's trying to sort of encompass that mindset, it must be really difficult. Was it difficult on the day and then also getting to watch it for the first time?
I mean, I think that's an interesting question, right? Because like it is portraying something that is a really horrible, violent act, right? There's a rape in this film and it happens in the first, 10 minutes of the film. But then the rest of the movie is about this character, Bonnie, sort of dealing with who she now gets to be in the world. Is she simply a victim of this horrible attack, or does she get to be more? How does she deal with her boyfriend? How does she deal with her friends? How does she like come back to her life? That part I think was a little more not easy, but I guess identifiable, because all of us have had major things happen to us in our lives that we suddenly feel out of control, or we don't feel that we want to be defined simply by that thing or by that characteristic. But the actual shooting of the attack was kind of a weird day because like we blocked it out like you would a fight scene. So myself and the actor that was playing the rapist, like everybody knew what we were doing. We all knew where we were supposed to stand and what it was supposed to be. But after a little while, it starts to your brain starts to go there, and it was fine on set. And then when I went home, I was really like feeling really sad, and then I took a really long shower and I was like sobbing in the shower. And then as I was sobbing in the shower, I was thinking like, this is nothing compared to what women and men that have actually been through a sexual assault feel like. This is like a speck of dirt in like a desert of feeling, right? And so I'm hopeful that somehow it feels real and honest, but like again, like I don't know, you just sort of throw yourself at it because like it's never happened to me. So I'm hopeful that in some way I'm bringing some honest truth to it.
I mean, it's a powerful film. I mean, can you tell me a little bit about how the materials came to you and just working with Jessica Thompson, who was the director?
Yeah, I had been shooting Brooklyn Nine-Nine for about 3 seasons at that point, and I really wanted to do something that was very, very different. Before I did Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I was mostly a theater actress. I actually lived here in New York for like almost 9 years, and I would travel around
New York girl, give her a round of applause, guys.
Yeah.
There we go, representing.
I lived in many places. I lived in Hell's Kitchen for a while, and then Park Slope, but I mostly would travel around to regional theaters and do like mostly really dramatic stuff. Actually, it was a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of American classics like Tennessee Williams and Arthur Miller. And then I booked Brooklyn, and it was like, you're in a totally different world. This is a completely different thing. And then I sort of wanted to go back to trying to do that more kind of heavy stuff, I guess. And I also, to be honest, was like kind of terrified that I had lost the ability to do it. You know, like if you don't play a sport for a while and then you go back and try it and you suck, you know? It's like, I don't know if I'm any good anymore. Like, maybe I should see if I am. And then I was looking for a project, and Jessica's script came to me, and I read it, and I had never seen anything. Like, I'd never seen a rape story that was from the perspective of the actual person that it happens to. Like, we talk about rape, and it's this 4-letter word, and we see it in the news, and we think like, ooh, don't walk on that block. You know, like make sure you take your headphones off. And what we don't think about is the actual effects that it has on the human being that now has to live the rest of their life with this memory, right? And not just in their mind, but like sometimes in their body, right? And I had just never seen a story told like that before. And so I was really excited when I read the script. And then sadly, I have a really dear friend who is a rape survivor. She's an incest survivor. And I saw her a lot in the script. I saw her humor. I saw her like dark gallows humor. I saw her defensiveness. I just saw her a lot, and it felt really real to me. And then I asked her if she would read the script, and she got back to me after she read it and said, I encourage you to do this script. I've never seen us before, meaning like us survivors, victims. I've never seen us portrayed this way.
I mean, what other kind of research did you do? Did you read papers? Did you talk to other survivors? I mean, obviously, this is an important role for you. I mean, I imagine you did that work.
Yeah, I did some. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was important to me to make sure that all the things that I was reading in the script were based in reality. And I think that's where Jessica really shined in the writing of the script. Jessica comes from a documentary background. She's edited quite a few documentary films, and she really put the work into the script. She talked to so many people. She talked to survivors. She talked to counselors. She talked to police officers. She talked to doctors. She talked to women in like women's shelters, and like she did so much research. You can really see it in some of the scenes in the film, like the scene after the attack when Bonnie is in the hospital, and it's almost like a second trauma. Because she's
very clinical, it's very cold, right? The whole procedure.
And they're like asking her how much she had to drink, and like there's so much almost like blaming of her. And then not only that, but then she has to go through this physical exam where she's like poked and prodded and photographed and like physically examined like in all the ways, shapes, and forms that you can imagine after something like that happens. And it's just like there were many people that we talked to that were like, yeah, it is a second trauma that going. The thing that's supposed to help you now, like the place that you're supposed to report and get help, is going to treat you like it was maybe partially your fault. And it's never their fault, ever.
Yeah. So, and you're also a producer on this film, right?
Yeah.
I mean, can you tell me a little bit about, taking that role on?
Yeah, I'm an executive producer on the film. It's the first time that I've ever done that. I think mostly it was about I wanted to help the film get made. It's an indie film, so there wasn't a big studio behind it. It's Jessica's company, Steadfast Productions, which is female-owned and operated, which is great.
Another round of applause, please. Support that. Support this film.
I'm a big supporter of women in the arts. I think there need to be more of us behind the camera. I think there need to be more of us writing the stories, because I think really that's one of the only ways that women are going to be pushed to the forefront more. Like you think about someone like Reese Witherspoon, who started her own company, and then last year she had such a big hit with Big Little Lies, right? And it was an amazing story and totally female-centered. And the main characters were female, and like it was their story, their point of view. I think that's so important. And so this being one of the first things that I executive produced, like I just learned a lot about like all sorts of parts of it, like how you have to roll out an opening, like how you have to do, like what is the press junket like, and I just learned like a lot. And South by Southwest was like the first foray into it, and I was like, I'm gonna go to Austin and have a great time and eat tacos, and I was like, no, you're doing
no
press
time for that
the whole time. Yeah, it was really intense, but it was really fun.
And what was it like working with Michael Stahl-David, who is also here, and he plays your boyfriend, Matt? I mean, like you said, it's not a plot point, the rape survival. It's you're sitting with it for a while. You're seeing their relationship develop, and he's reacting to that you've been through this trauma. I mean, what was it like working with him, and how'd you guys meet? Did you guys do some reads together?
Yeah, well, actually, we were really lucky, and I think Jessica's really smart as a director. She had us, and I don't know if he told you this or not, but we rehearsed for 4 days, just the three of us, in the apartment that is Bonnie and Matt's apartment. And so before we even started shooting, we were seeing each other every day for like 4 days in a row from morning to night. And we would do these like trust exercises, and then we would do like a bunch of improv games. we also answered this questionnaire that ran in the New York Times called the 36 Questions to Fall in Love. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's a series of questions that were developed to create intimacy between people.
How'd you guys do?
We did great. I mean, we didn't do all the questions. We did quite a few, and we did them in character and then in as ourselves, too. So we learned a lot about each other. I learned a lot about the way he likes to work. I think we really trusted each other, and, like, I don't know. I think we had a lot of love for each other, like, as scene partners, because, like, this is, like, I think there's a fight scene in the film where they get in a really big argument, and, like, that scene for us was the most fun and the most difficult, I think, because I think everyone's been through that moment where you're fighting with this person and you're, like, screaming at them and you hate them and you want them out of your life, and at the same time inside you is the memory of, like, falling in love with that person, and that is so painful. We just had a really good time working together. I think we worked really well together, except for one time. Because I'm used to 3 cameras on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There's 3 cameras, and they're all shooting us all at once.
You always have coverage, yeah.
Always coverage. And we had 1 camera on this film because, again, it's an indie film. We had no budget, right? And it was his coverage, so the camera was on him, and I kept jumping on his lines, like. And finally, he turned to Jess and was like, "Can I just get my lines clear? Can I just get my lines clear?"
Oh, he circumvented you there.
Yes, and I was like, "Hey, baby, I'm right here, though. You can just talk to me. You can just say it to me." I was a little embarrassed because I felt bad about, like, jumping on it because I'm just not used to it. You know, it took a long time for me to get used to the cameras. Coming from theater, it was really hard. Like, we'll have these marks on stage, and I would miss my mark every time and just ruin the shot. Ruin. And it was over and over and over to an embarrassing point where Melissa Fumero, who plays Amy Santiago, was like, 70! It's bright pink. It's bright pink. How can you miss it? It was very embarrassing.
Well, you did really well with this. I want to hear how it's been now that you've been screening it. You know, now you're showing it to people. Have you had any other survivors maybe come up to you, approach you about this?
Yes. A shocking amount. I think the CDC statistics are 1 in 5 women that you and I know have been raped in her lifetime, 1 in 67 men. That's a lot. That means that out of this audience that's watching us here, there's probably 1 or 2, maybe 3 sexual assault survivors. There are so many of them everywhere. It is horrifying and at the same time really wonderful that people feel that they can come to me after the film and talk to me about it, because I think at the very least, this film will be able to start a conversation between people and allow them to have a jumping off place to say, like, what did you think of that story? Has that ever happened to you? Do you know anyone that's happened to? Do you want to talk about it? And I think that's the biggest thing for survivors, is that they need people to just listen, not judge them, not ask them why they think it happened or what they could have done to prevent it, because the answer is nothing, right? I think all survivors want us to say, I believe you, and I hear you, and I see you.
It's a powerful message. Let's talk about your other project. Let's talk about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Let's talk about the improv.
Sure.
I think we have a clip that we can show right now.
Oh, great.
9 hours and 55 minutes.
Is it? I feel like I just sat down.
I have no feeling down here whatsoever. I haven't in years.
I'm doing great, too. This has been a piece of cake. Oh, butt cramp. Butt cramp.
Well, that sounds painful. I bet you could use some electrolytes.
Give me that. That's mine.
Come get it.
You'll never catch me.
Oh, won't I? Cramp over. And so's our shift. Huh. And you thought I couldn't. Wait, what are you doing?
You thought we were done just because our shift was over? Amateur.
Oh, so you want to take this into overtime? Fine. I got no place to be.
Neither do I. I never do.
And it's agreed. The games continue.
So funny. There's some laughs here in the audience already. They haven't seen the whole episode. Can you tell me a little bit about the character of Rosa and how you first came to her?
Sure. Well, Rosa is, I would describe her as the way she was described in the original script that I read when I auditioned: tough, smart, and scary as hell.
I think you pulled it off.
I think that's her in a nutshell, right? The way that I came to her, I always think that's an interesting question because it it sort of assumes that I was like doing great in Hollywood and having like a great career. Meanwhile, I had like $50 in my bank account and was teaching workout classes. Like,
well, that's a better story. Let's tell that story.
So at the time, I was just, I really wanted to do a comedy, and I kept telling my agency something like Parks and Rec, something like Parks and Rec. I want something like Parks and Rec. And then when pilot season came, which is this, I don't know if you guys know anything about TV, but it's basically like January, February is when they're casting all the new shows in television. And it's kind of shifted a little bit. Like some of the auditions happen earlier or later. Around November, I got an audition for actually the part of Amy Santiago, because in the script, she was Latina. She is Latina. And I went in to read for that, and the casting director, Allison Jones, who's cast a bunch of stuff, one of my favorites, Freaks and Geeks, she cast Parks and Rec. She's really great. I went in to read for her, and she was like, all right, I want you to come back for this role, but also this other role, Megan. I was like, cool. And Megan was what Rosa turned into. Tough, smart, scary as hell. I had an audition for her. I really loved the character. I wore all black. I wore my black leather jacket. I wore my black boots. And then I got a call back for both. And then I got a screen test for both. And at the screen test, I did the Amy role first, and I was really nervous because I had like one other screen test before. And then when I got there, they were like, "By the way, you're gonna be improvising with Andy Samberg. He's here." And I was like,
"No pressure at all. No pressure at all."
Yeah, and I'm like a fan from Lonely Island. Like I really love them. I think he's just one of the most brilliant comedians there is. I think he was like born to make everyone laugh. I think that's his like the thing that he's supposed to do on this earth. And so that, I don't think that screen test went very well. I was really nervous. I also think that role was always supposed to be Melissa's. It was always supposed to be Melissa Fumero's role. And it's just so lucky that I got to read for it, because then I got to read for this other role of Megan. And that screen test was the next day. It went really well. I was really comfortable. I was more comfortable in that character. And then I got cast, and it was really an incredible. And Melissa got cast before me, and I read that she had been cast, and I was like, I cried, because I thought, I'm so happy for her, but I also know that there's no way that a network is going to cast two Latinas. It doesn't happen. There's only one of us ever, you know? And then like 2 days later, my agents were like, guess what? It was amazing.
Really good news.
Yes, really good news.
That's amazing. And how's it been getting to know Andy now that you've been working with him for a few years?
He's amazing. I really think most sets depend on, so there's this weird number system in television, right? Like the lead on the show will be on the call sheet, and it'll say number 1, Andy Samberg, number 2, Andre Braugher, number 3, Terry Crews. I think number 4 is Melissa. I'm number 5. So but the number 1 is usually the person that is the lead of the show, sets the tone on the set. And Andy is the most giving, smart, feminist, just like amazing person to work for. He's an incredible person. He's really brilliant. He's a lot more serious than you would think, because he's always trying to think about how to make the show better. And he's just like he's a really good boss. He's a really good boss. Like, I feel extremely lucky that I get to work with him.
In improv, I imagine that set's full of that improv. You've had a background in it. Are there any moments that came out of that improv that you loved?
I don't have a background in it. Like, out of all of the cast, I'm like the least comfortable doing it. I like to have a map for what I'm doing. I like to, because I come from theater, so like I like to have the whole structure laid out. And improv is terrifying. It really took until 3rd season where I started to feel comfortable in like saying things during the scene or at the end of the scene and stuff. And now I feel much more comfortable. And my castmates are very encouraging in their way. They're like, "You idiot, you're funny. Just try it."
Are there any ones that you loved in particular, or
that got in?
Just came in.
I think that there are some later in this season that have made it in. I can't share them because they're
spoilers.
Yeah, they're a little bit of spoilers.
Okay.
So
how was it to do a Halloween episode? That was so fun. That was the last
that
episode.
Was so
yeah,
fun.
right, guys.
It was great, right?
I love that episode.
That was a really great episode. I think it was a big thing for us because it was also the 5th time that we had done that. Right, and I think when the show started, I'm not sure Dan Gore thought that it was going to be a recurring thing for us, that we would always do a Halloween episode. I think like season 3, he was like, I don't know if we're going to do another one. We were like, what? But that particular script especially, like, and I'm hoping everyone in the audience has seen it because I don't want to
Let's talk like they've seen it, okay? I think a lot
let's
of people
assume.
have seen it.
So when we do when we get a new script, it's usually like in the middle of the week, and we're gonna shoot that script the next week. So we'll have a table read, and the table read is all the actors, obviously, and then the big, like, sort of important people that work on the show, like our costume designer, our lighting designer, and then some of the executives from Fox and NBC and stuff. And so we sit around the table and just read the script. And sometimes you don't have time to read the script before the table read, so you're just like flying by the seat of your pants. That day, I did not have time to read the script. So I sit down, and we're all reading it, and it's going great, and it's really funny, and the jokes are all landing. And then Jake and Amy are in the evidence room, and then I start figuring out what's about to happen. And Dan Gore reads the stage directions. He's like, Jake bends down on one knee, and I was like, no! Like, because I am a fan of Jake and Amy. Like, I think that they're one of the healthiest, most lovely hetero couples on television. I think that
both
they're
very powerful in their own.
And they like really respect each other. They've grown a lot together. And so for them to get engaged on the show, I thought was just so sweet and satisfying for the audience. And like, it was really sweet. It was such a sweet moment. I cried at the table read.
I completely agree. I mean, it's impossible not to crack up when Andy Samberg's in the Handmaiden's Tale outfit, and
I mean,
like these ridiculous things are happening.
He was so mad that day because that outfit was so hot. He was just like, and when Andy gets hot, he gets really quiet. And so we're all like, Andy's mad. Andy's so quiet. He's so mad. He was like, let's just finish the scene. Let's just finish the scene.
Well, he pulled it off. He pulled it off. Who breaks the most? I mean, Terry Crews,
Melissa. Melissa breaks the most, yeah. And Andre is getting lazy about it too, to be honest. Like he'll start laughing a lot lately.
I have to ask about the corgi too. He's so cute.
Corgi.
Do you guys play around with him a little bit? Dogs on set usually is We're
not allowed because he gets distracted and then he won't perform his tricks. And like, no offense to corgis, but they ain't too smart. It takes a long...
Don't say that about Cinnamon, come on.
It's a long time for those corgis to figure out what they're doing. It's really hard. Those days are always really long. We're like, why couldn't they pick like a golden retriever or something? Corgis are cute though. They're really cute. They're just dumb.
Worth it. Okay, we'll go to the audience for a Q&A.
Hi. So with everything that's going on in Hollywood today and, all the rape allegations with Harvey and so forth, when you read the script, and this probably happened prior to that, did you feel this pressure to really portray the story of the victims, of A-lister Hollywood stars and non-A-listers, of like what they felt like and really just bring awareness through your character of what, is really going on with the victims?
I mean, I did this film a year ago. All of that stuff hadn't come out yet. But the reality is all of that stuff had already happened. Most of it had already happened. I think for me, I felt an immense amount of pressure, just not only for people that I hadn't met, but like for personal friends that had actually been through this. It was like nightmarish to me that they had never expressed it or seen themselves expressed in a film in this way. At the same time, I tried to just focus on what Bonnie was going through because like you could say like, oh, this is representative of a lot of people's stories. And that is true on one hand, but it's also a really specific story and it's not everyone's journey. Some people are raped by intimate partners. Some people are in relationships that they can't safely get out of, And this character of Bonnie was raped by a stranger who she's never met before. So like all of these sexual assaults are different. And I would be really wrong to say that this is representative of everyone that's been through this. But I will say that I did my best to be as honest as I could with this particular story.
Absolutely. Next question.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
I was wondering, who are some of your favorite non-hetero couples in the media? And
well, it's very lacking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Non-hetero
also,
couples are very lacking.
If Rosa could get a new love interest, who would you want to play them?
Well, in answer to your first question, I think one of my favorites is actually Kevin and Captain Holt on our show. It's so healthy. It's so loving. They love each other so much. They take care of each other. I can't remember what season it was, but when they renewed their vows, it was just the sweetest, most romantic thing I'd ever seen. And you're also talking about a couple that isn't like, there's not a lot of stereotypes in that relationship. They don't... they don't lend themselves to being like, oh, I've seen this couple already, you know, like these are two new people that are in love and have been in love for a long time and have, you know, when you think about like what they've gone through, they were together when Captain Holt was on the force in the 70s, and it was a really different world for gay people then. It's still very difficult now. But I just love them as a couple. As for who Rosa would date next, I don't know. I mean, there's so many wonderful, beautiful people in this world. I think it would be really fun to play more with other comedians. Jason Mantzoukas being on the show was so fun.
Good, yeah.
He's so fun. And as I got more comfortable with him around, like I was really nervous at first because he's so good and he's so smart at improv. He's like terrifyingly fast. But toward the end, like those last couple episodes that I had with him, it was really fun to play with him. So I think I would say like a comedian, because I think I would learn from them. I know a lot of you are probably hoping that Rosa, like me, is either bi or maybe she's going to come out in some other way. I don't have any answers to that because I don't write the show. I wish I had more control. That's like the great thing about being a producer on a project or an executive producer, because you can say, like, this is the way I'd like this story to go. I don't have that influence on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think that our writers are really smart, and I think that they'll give Rosa enough challenges in this season for everyone to be really happy with her story.
Looking forward to that. One last question.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, since you've done you were an executive producer for Light and the Moon, I was just curious, what would you say to rape victims who are too afraid to get help?
I think there's a lot of ways they can anonymously get help. There are quite a few websites, and I'm hoping like maybe we can put up some links when this goes
Absolutely.
up.
I'm sure we can.
That would be really great for people that are watching this. I think that there's more than one way to ask for help. You don't have to ask for it in the traditional way. You don't have to tell everyone in your life. I think it's your story, so that means you get to share it in the ways that you want to. Maybe it's just your intimate partner that you tell. Maybe it's just your parents. Maybe it's one trusted friend. Maybe you don't tell anyone that you know, and you find a therapist and speak to them over the phone. I do think, and this is not, I cannot speak for survivors, but I can speak for some friends that are survivors, and all of them have told me that the most important thing that they did was to tell their story to someone, so that they weren't holding it inside. Because I think a lot of times sexual assault is tied up with shame. And I think that shame keeps us quiet all the time, whether it's shame about your sexuality, what's happened to you in your life, or who you think you might be, or who you think you can't be. Shame it's a liar, and it whispers in your ear, and it sounds just like you, and it tells you that you're wrong. Don't listen to it.
Amazing answer. Absolutely. A round of applause for that. Light of the Moon, out in theaters next Wednesday, correct? It's playing in New York at the IFC Center.
November 1st, yeah.
November 1st, absolutely. And then check out Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Fox on Tuesdays, right?
Yeah,
that's
that's
correct.
right.
There we go. Give her another round of applause, guys. Thanks so much for being here, Stephanie.
Thank you.